You will not believe who is managing your public pension. I just stumbled upon this article on Bloomberg detailing how investing novices are the ones who are in charge of many public pensions in the United States. Now, we're going to look into the details of this, but this is something that I had no idea who was in charge of making the investment decisions at public pensions in the US. Now, I thought I had an idea of who was making these investment decisions for some of the largest investment funds in the world, US public pensions. My idea was that professionals would be making these decisions. Now, you've been around the channel any length of time, you know that I disagree with the choices that many investment professionals make, financial advisors make for their clients about how to invest their money. But at least they're professionals and at least they know what the things they're investing in actually are. This is not the case, as we will see with US public pensions. So the question is, if it's not professionals, then who is it that is managing your money if you're one of these unlucky people that has a public pension? Unpaid union-backed reps, retirees, and political appointees are managing somewhere around $4 trillion. I'm sorry, what? Let's look at that list one more time, because this just shocked me. Unpaid union-backed reps, retirees, and political appointees. That's unbelievable. I mean, you have probably heard me say dozens of times on this channel, and I've told all my friends who have, family and friends who have an option, that public pensions are probably one of the highest risk, just stay away from options possible. Because many times these days, when you get a job, number one, they're gonna give you an option. It used to be that was the only option available, and fine. Now, many times they're gonna give you a choice. They're gonna say, hey, would you like to be involved in the pension system, or would you like to be involved in our version of a 401k where you put money in and then you can control how it's invested, and then your returns are just your returns and you can take it with you when you go. Always take that option. And I've always said that, but now there's even more reason for you to never touch with a 30-foot pole the public pensions. Number one, they are only able to guarantee results because of new inflows. That's actually something, a big red flag that you can watch out for. Anytime results are guaranteed, especially if the results look good, many times those results are only able to be guaranteed because they're backed up by new inflows. Anytime investment performance results are not guaranteed, it's because those investment results are driven by the performance of the things that they're investing in, which as an investor, you can't control how Apple performs. And so if you're looking at an investment product and it says, hey, we can guarantee you 4%, 6%, 8%, whatever it is, many times they're only able to make that guarantee because they're going to subsidize your returns with new investor money, AKA a Ponzi scheme, just a legal one. Now you might be thinking, okay, well, let's not jump to conclusions. Just because you don't have professionals managing this $4 trillion doesn't mean they're doing a bad job of it, right? Well, let's look. There's a study over 10 years through 2015. Canadian funds, which by the way are managed by professionals, delivered returns that exceeded the benchmark, which was equal to their liabilities, how much they owed, by 2.2% a year. That was more than what the US funds did, which took greater risk. And there are other studies as well that have found that the US funds managed by boards and government officials do not perform as well. Now, anytime you look at something that receives a ton of government money, one of the things you're going to see is a bloating of costs, particularly for administrators and people in charge of doing a bunch of busy work. This is true in education, where the cost of education has exploded, the amount of money that's gone into education has exploded, and the number of administrators in education has absolutely exploded. Whereas the quality of the education has decreased and the return on investment for degrees has decreased drastically. The same thing has happened with healthcare. Over the years 1970 through 2009, we can see that the number of physicians in the United States has not grown very much, but the number of administrators has. This growth is in perfect correlation with the amount of spending per capita that the US spends, aka government money being shoved into healthcare. And unsurprisingly, this is exactly the same thing that has happened with public pensions, whose payrolls have risen almost fivefold in the last 22 years. Now, you might say, well, underperformance isn't that big of a deal, right? As long as there's enough money coming in and enough of performance in order to pay out current retirees. Well, apparently, that's too big of an if. Plans are more than $1 trillion short of what they need to pay out in benefits. As a result, they have turned to riskier investments to try and get higher returns. Some of these higher risk investments were things like SPACs, of which the chairwoman of the California Public Employees Retirement System, Teresa Taylor, said, "I had never heard of those before." Just a recipe for success. So you might be wondering, well, how in the world did we get into this situation, and why is it set up this way where you don't have professionals managing these funds? Well, it's because of how these funds were set up back before World War II, where by law, they were filled up with people like public servants and retirees. Back then, pension funds were very small compared to government budgets. Now, this is extremely unfortunate and potentially scary news for anybody who is reliant on a public pension for their retirement. If that is you, my suggestion would be, number one, pretend like it won't be there, because there unfortunately is a high chance that at some point within the next 10, 20, 30 years, it won't be. Regardless of the guarantee that they say is there, even if the dollars that are promised, the amount of dollars are paid out, the chances that the purchasing power of those dollars is there is even less. We all know how inflation has rocked households over the last 2 years. Fast forward that over the next 10, 20, 30 years and see how that plays out. So for many people, unfortunately, this is something you'll have to shift your mind and just say, you know what? I can't count on that. And start preparing as if you really can't. Start investing in an IRA, put money in a brokerage account, start buying real estate that cash flows, start investing and educating yourself, and don't rely on these government plans that are managed by incompetent imbeciles that are taking higher and higher risks to make up for the fact that there's less and less people paying into them in order to continue this Ponzi scheme any further. And for anybody who is currently entering a job where it is an option that you can take this or take something else, my advice to everyone I know personally, family and friends, is always take the thing that you can control the most, which is usually not the pension. And for anybody who's interested, I'm going to be speaking at the Empowered Investors Live Conference. It's going to be in Scottsdale, Arizona from January 27th through 29th. It's Jason Hartman's event. It's going to be a great event. Lots of other great speakers as well. I'd love to see you there. I've got a link in the description below. As always, thanks so much for watching. Have a great day.